So let's get going. And again, let me say welcome to you for being here on the webinar, and thank you for showing interest in what I put out here for these last few days. And it's really interesting when you find something, or when you kind of discover something new, and you find people who are doing things in such different ways, which you kind of do when you live here in Bali. You find all these interesting people out there doing amazing things, and living a whole different lifestyle. And when you're just curious enough to ask a few questions, you kind of start finding out how they're doing that. And there is, when I ran across, or when I found out what Eric was up to, and this was shared with me from one of our sales guys, and he'd run into Eric, and when I heard what he was doing, I had to kind of get a better understanding of what that was, and after a bit of an arm twist, which it wasn't too much of an arm twist really, Eric. Eric agreed
He's
to.
He's a very personable guy, I must say.
Exactly. It was great that he put his hand up and said, "Great, let's put something together, and I'll happily connect with your audience and have a little conversation about how I do what I do, and put something together for those who really want to take that further and actually do this at like a whole professional level." And it's easy to go out and try a whole bunch of different stuff. It's much harder to commit to one thing and actually do it well. And essentially, what Eric said to me was, if there's people on your side there who really want to commit at that level, then I'll happily show up and give them and show them all the ropes, and help them through what could sometimes be a bit of a minefield with
it's
anything.
funny, you were saying a moment ago, at a professional level. And I guess at the end of the day, I know I get professional results. I get really amazing results. But I do it in such a casual way that it doesn't really feel like a profession to me. It's kind of more like having fun.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's hand it over to you, Eric. And again, I'm going to be monitoring the conversations or any questions that are coming in, and take us through yes, a bit of a picture of a day in the life of Eric, really, and how you kind of manifested this lifestyle that you've created for yourself.
Yeah, no worries, John. This is just a collection of photos of my life in Bali, for those of you that might be interested. Now, I think, some people show sports cars and fancy boats, and believe me, I've done it all, but this is really where I'm at now and what I love with my life right now, and I just couldn't be happier. The wonderful thing about investing is it's afforded me the opportunity to live where I want to live and do what I want to do, and do it in my own terms without having to actually answer to anyone at all, and other than my gorgeous girlfriend, who you can see on the back of the bike in the bottom corner there. And it's not the one standing next to me in the top left-hand corner. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I want to give you an outline of what we're going to go through so that you have a fair idea. I don't want to try and, kind of keep you in the dark like mushrooms or anything, and just give you a little promise. So the first thing is I'm actually going to show you today how to find these high cash flow digital properties. What I call these businesses is digital real estate. Sometimes I call it virtual real estate, but it's essentially the way I look at it is it's virtual real estate. It's businesses, but really I like to think of them as properties that are incredibly cheap to buy for their returns, that are very stable and attractive businesses, often requiring very little management, not much more than owning a house that you rent, for instance. And they're just fantastic. So I'll show you how to find a bunch of them. The next thing I'm going to do is run you through some statistics around the industry, because I think it's kind of interesting to reference it in terms of other stuff that you can do, and why digital property is just so amazing. Then what's investing? It's probably the first time I've mentioned that word. Mm-hmm. No, the second time now. And then also I'm going to give you a simple 8-step formula that'll allow you to go out and do it yourselves. Then we'll run through another 3 steps, which are basically lessons on how to do it and what to look for. I believe that you'll find that this is a bit of a game changer for you, because it sure is. Pretty much everyone I come across says it is so, and it was for me, so has been for me, I should say. And then we'll do some Q&A. So if it's okay with you, I'd really like to kind of, if you can hold your burning questions to the end, just jot them down on a piece of paper, and then we'll fire through them when we get to the end, just so that those of you that want to stay on a bit longer and ask questions can.
Perfect. Good idea.
Okay, and at the end we're going to tell you about a little gift we've got for you. Okay, so we're going to dive straight into it. This is lesson 1. I want you to make a note of a site called Flippa.com. That's FLIPPA.com. And this is a site that is essentially like it's like the eBay of websites. It's an auction site, although not everything's sold at auction. And what it basically does is it lists a whole lot of websites that are out there for sale. And I think when you start to see what some of this is, you're going to be amazed at the sorts of returns that are available out there. And I'll explain to you as we go through why they're available. So I've just kind of did a bit of research, and I picked one out a while ago, actually. But nothing's really changed since then. There's so many opportunities. So when you go to Flippa, you'll be able to look through the listings, and what you what you want to do is go to. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but you can go to the most recent, or you can go to the most popular. And I've just picked one out here called, I think it's called EmpireMall.net. Now, have a look at this. It's got 3 days to run. That 3 days and 1 bid. There's one person bidded on it. It's on the market for $1,300. But I want you to look at this revenue number that I've circled. That revenue is $459. Now, it's got 3 days to run, so this will go up. But the thing is that revenue number, it's actually a monthly number. Wow. Right? It's the monthly revenue of the website. So right now you can see it can be bought for. I think it's in the money, this one too. So let's have a look at this. We've got a really good income, and at first I can tell you you're going to be looking at this and going, no, it can't be that good. It's impossible. There's no investments out there that are that good. But I do this every day, and we're buying one a month, one a week. It depends on how they're flowing through, and I've been doing this for that long that it's not a fluke. These things are not a fluke. They're real. There are websites out there that you can buy that will return you your money within 3 months and put you into pure profit going forward, right? And that's the extraordinary thing about investing. So with this one, we've got a good income. The age is good, solid traffic. You can see these numbers with the bits that I've outlined. It's 20,000 in 5 months it's made, and the site was established in 2007. It's getting about 200,000 page views a month, of which 19,000 are unique. And what that basically means is that 19,000 different people have gone to this site each month on average in the last 3 months. So this is a really good little deal here. And then you can see the close-up of those numbers. I'm not sure how good the screen quality is on the other end, but so, there's just a few things that you need to do, and you should probably write these down. The 4 steps to finding cash-generating digital properties is 1, go to Flippa. It's actually 5 if you include go to Flippa. Find the most active, identify the revenue and make sure it's making decent money. Identify the traffic and that it's good. Check that it's an established site. It's been around for at least a year. And there you go. You found your first website.
So tell me just on this, because it's the interesting thing here, Eric, is that these websites seem to be sold at values well below anything that you'd expect to buy a business on, or any investment where your cash flow turnover is that much, and they're selling them for obviously very little. There's got to be something going on there. What is going on?
So this is the thing, right? And now I used to think like that, right? I used to look at it and go, nah, this is too good to be true. But my mindset has reversed so dramatically now that I look at other things like real estate and the stock market that's returning 5% and 2% per annum. And I just think, why would anyone invest in that when there's these sorts of opportunities out there? It makes no sense to me at all. So I've kind of come full circle on this thing, and I'm like, someone kind of turns up and offers me, to invest in their business, and they offer me a 10% return. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, why? What are you? Is our friendship that good?
But the guys who are selling here, are they just not business people?
No,
I
tell you,
they don't get it.
We may as well jump into this right now. The reason why there are these deals out there is there's several different reasons, and they're combinations of all of them. But the primary one is that that most of the people that set up the sites that are being sold are entrepreneurs. They're online entrepreneurs. They're very project driven, and they get their passion not from making a bunch of money out of a site that they've owned for years, but from doing the new project. Right?
Okay.
And so what happens is that they'll create the business, they'll get it up and running, and they get the rush out of getting it making money and being really profitable, and then they get bored, essentially. And that seems to be, like, I've dealt with a lot of sellers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sellers now.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the primary characteristic, that they get tired of it, or they've got so many projects that they neglect them. And you often see this. They neglect them for a bit, and then they've got a new project they want to do. They got all passionate about that. They need some cash. They want it now. And instead of waiting 12 months for the old one to make the money that they need to do the new one, they just sell it. And they usually sell it from between 3 months revenue to about 18 months revenue now.
Yeah.
So it's really not that difficult to find a website that will return you 100% profit per annum. And I just want to say that again, because I know for me it's like, yeah, okay, I'm so used to it, but it's really not that difficult to find a website that will make you 100% net profit yield in 1 year.
It's extraordinary.
Right? So now, guys, I'd really like to know what you think about that.
Like, what other investment do you guys have, or have you seen that even anything close to that? Amazing, yeah. I'm with you, Patrick.
Yeah, and this is the sort of response I get everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, and to be honest, I did this without really talking to anybody at all for a couple of years, and I just had a ball. Like, I literally would spend an hour on my computer in the morning, and I lived opposite the beach at Wadigos Beach. And this was like a guy who just lost everything. Yeah. And I mucked around for about a year, and then I found this, and I didn't have any money, and I actually went to a friend and I said, look what I found, and he went, oh, God, let's do it, And so we got stuck into it, and within 3 months I was making about $7,000 a month out of it, just off. Literally, it was. I think we invested about $50,000, something like that, all up. And we just kept going from there. And so, but I reached a point where it was like, okay, well, this is just fun now. I don't need any more than I'm making right now. It actually stopped being about making money. It was actually about having fun doing the things that I was doing, Yeah. And so, and of course, living in Bali, you really don't need a lot to live on here. It's quite amazing, really. So yeah, my income needs are significantly lower than they were in Australia. But but yeah, and so I mean, I'll show you some testimonials of some of the members that we've had in that have done really well with it and that sort of thing. So it's that easy to find them. Now, I mean, there's a few more steps involved in it, but the thing is that what I teach you to do is to not actually get too deeply involved in the technical stuff, because you can get bogged down in there, and there's so many people out there, which I'll go into a little later, that can help you with it. So we'll just move on. So, look, do you guys think you can do this? Like, does that seem like something that you'd be able to do?
Yeah.
Oh, what have we got here?
Yeah, we'll be answering some questions. Yep. Yeah, maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
Good so far.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I get it. Don't worry. It's not going to get nasty. So just how big is digital real estate? And the reality is it's massive. In March 2013, sales on Flippa alone totaled 1,176,000. Average sale price of $1,200. Now you see that number, $1,200. That's the average sale price of the websites on Flippa. And there's a chance that one of you guys will do this, but pretty much I've only done a few webinars, and every time I do, someone gets on Flippa and buys a website while they're on the webinar. And you know, you can. The reality is, you can start in this market for as little as $100 if you want to. And I actually kind of encourage people to do that. Start really small, and just cut your teeth on it and get your confidence that way. So there's millions and trillions and billions of web pages and websites and live websites. 510 million live websites that are actually active on the web. 48 billion web pages indexed by Google, and they haven't even gone halfway through it, I don't think. 103 million websites were added just last year. That's 282,000 a day. So the internet is growing at an exponential rate, and the way that people use it, particularly in terms of e-commerce and buying and selling, has gone through the roof. So it's massive. Now, if you compare it with normal real estate, there were less than 500,000 homes sold in the USA last year. And that was, I dug out of a Harvard study. Now, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are from the States or if you're all from Australia, but it's a significantly smaller number in Oz. And so when you compare that with, I think it's 300, no, yeah, there's 143,000 domains transferred every day. So in 3 days, there are more domains or more websites traded than there are houses in the US in an entire year. So it's a very, very big market, and a lot of this is going on. There's a lot of institutions doing it. There's a lot of kind of niche sort of people doing it, but it's not really hit the general market yet. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And what I'm doing is I'm actually kind of creating a gateway for people to get into this, essentially. So yeah, growth. I won't go into a lot of detail there. You've probably all read it now, but tons and tons of growth in this market. So what about retail shops and closures and openings? You know, what's going on in the bricks and mortar business world? And the reality is that, and we've all seen it, a couple of years ago, everything was shutting down, and it's actually not regained that much since then. There's not a lot of new openings going on, and they're pretty balanced these days. There's many places closing, if not a few more, than opening. But while that's all happening, the number of websites out there that have been created has tripled from 1.9 billion to 6.4 billion. So there's a massive shift of the trading that's going on to the online forum. And that's really, what does it all mean for you guys and for me and for John here? It means this is where we need to be, basically. If we're going to keep up with what's going on, that's the best place to be. And there are a number of really good reasons why we should be there. You don't really need to be a genius to figure this one out. I'm sure Einstein would have been onto it straight away. And the fact is that there's lots and lots of opportunities for big earning potential right now with digital real estate. So, do you guys want to see some more? I've given you some pretty good statistics there. You want me to keep going, or have I just sort of?
I think I'm going to just push you along, Eric, because I'd like to see some more.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, so I can show you some hot niches. You remember in my little outline, I said I was going to show you some hot niches. There are 6 niches that I'm seeing are pretty explosive right now. Anyone guess at what these might be? I really would like to see if any of you can figure out what the hottest niches in the online are right now.
And for those of you like Matthew, who's already on Flipper, you could probably search and you'll probably find them right there, Matthew.
Okay, so has anyone?
Any suggestions?
Oh, yeah.
Dating, weight, muscle building? Yeah.
You guys are on it.
You
I love
guys.
it.
Yeah, there's always going to be a market there.
All right, so learning to play a musical instrument, from what I can gather, is the number one.
Mm-hmm.
And none of you guessed that.
No.
Dating and weight loss, yeah, it's pretty obvious, that one. Education is probably number 2. So what we're doing right now.
Yep.
Online training. And every other form of education that you can think of that is moving online. Whole universities have moved online.
You don't have to go far to see how many people are now putting their products and their entire membership programs online, like Udemy and the likes, where people are able to access that, and other people are now able to sell that for them. So
you can get Harvard courses on your iPhone now.
Exactly.
You know, it's amazing what's going on. So education's the number 2. One of you guessed it, weight loss. It's a very big one, particularly in certain countries, which we won't talk too deeply about. Dating, of course, is a very big one, and there's some really interesting stats around this. I was talking to John about this yesterday, that it's 94% of 24 to 34-year-olds, 29 to 34-year-olds in New York City are meeting online first now. And it's not just a Western world thing. Like in China, the number's even higher. It's almost everyone is meeting first online. And it's all age groups. It's from teenagers right up to people in their 80s. They're all meeting online now, because we're all leading really busy lives. We're not, we're just so encased in what we're doing that we just don't really find the time to go through that whole process. Plus, you can kind of be a lot more direct meeting online. You sort of put out there what you're looking for and who you are and what you want, and other people do the same, and it's easy to kind of identify your goals. I don't know, something about it that frees people up to be more open and honest about each other and themselves.
Well, the interesting thing there, I was in Hong Kong a month ago, and Singapore a month before that, and the consistent thing in there is like you get on the MRT, which is or MTR, which is the one in Hong Kong, and everybody's just there with their little mobile phones and their little.
Used to be newspapers.
They're just going for it, and they're going for it. But the interesting thing is they totally engage in that, and there are lots of conversations you can see. And other people are reading things and whatever else. A lot of conversations. But try and actually have a conversation with them. Like, they're like freak out. Like, who are you? It's like, get out of here. But you can see why it would be such a thing. But take dating out the way. They're like education, all that. It's all happening on those trains.
And the thing is that there's more people accessing the internet now from their mobile devices than there are from websites, or from their laptops. So gardening is another really big one, and that's not something that you would necessarily have guessed. And like gardening, it's all just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Oh, I love that little intro. So I did mention there were 6. What's number 6? And we had a little bit of a giggle about this yesterday, and it's pretty much any niche you can think of, and virtually every niche is growing.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting exercise. My son was actually with us, and he's like, so what shouldn't they do?
What niches are growing?
Yeah, and we were racking our brains, and we spent about 20 minutes just going, well, hang on, what niche is not going to work? We happen to find a couple. So if you come across sites that are selling spray-on hair or this other thing, what was it called again? It was the head-to-computer sock. Or
It was basically the privacy viewer.
Privacy viewer, that's the one. So if you come across sites selling these things, I would hazard a guess that they're probably not going to do too well. Anyhow.
Who ever considered sticking spray on hair on their heads?
I remember as a 5-year-old, well, I don't know whether I was exactly 5 or not, but I remember saying to my mother, like we were standing behind this guy, I'm like, what's happened to his head, Mummy? Because it just looked so weird, and it was that spray on hair. I haven't seen it since then, really.
All right, so pretty much any specific needs, anything that you're interested in, know that there's a massive market out there, and it's a growing market. So as long as you don't get caught in some weird other thing or try and invent something new and launch that, which is going to just be a terrible loss, then you should probably be okay.
And what John is doing right now is he's just going slightly around the central core theme of what this is all about. So we're going to dive into a little bit more research. There's in 2013, the US consumers spent 126 billion online, and they're expecting that to grow to $327 billion by 2016. So there's a lot of money being spent. So let me ask you, did you guys ever kind of wish that you'd bought into Google or Amazon or LinkedIn?
Yeah.
These were all massive online success stories. You know what? We talked about 8-Track yesterday.
Yeah.
Someone said 8-Track, and there's still people buying them. There's actually sites out there that seem to be doing quite well selling.
They're still growing. Yeah. But and anybody wish they'd bought into Google, Amazon, or Apple, or any of those guys early on? Yep. No way.
So I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind, right? And don't start beating yourself up just yet, because this really is going to amaze you. So if you bought into LinkedIn and spent $1,000, you'd be making a return of 71 cents. Pretty dismal, actually. Amazon, $9.68. Now that's kind of getting a little bit better. AOL and Google at 46 is what, a 4.6% return, 4.7% return. Most of us would be really, really happy with that, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I know that there was a day when I would have been very happy with it. But what I want to show you now is what the average return for a site bought on Flippa is. And this is the actual stats from Flippa's website. So the average return on a $1,000 investment is $881.58 a year. So
88% return.
Yeah.
And that's yield. That's
yield.
Yeah,
that's yield.
That's a crazy statistic.
That's net profit. Sorry I use the word yield because I've kind of been dealing with a few Americans. It's really net profit. Yeah.
Well, if anybody said to you, come along and give me $100,000 and I'll give you 88% return on you in a year, you just go, whatever you're doing is a scam.
Yeah.
Like you just would. It's like it's clear in the traditional ways of thinking there is nothing out there that you could consider is even close to that.
And yet these are hard figures from Flippa. And by the way, Flippa's an Australian website. It was created by a couple of guys in Melbourne. They've done really, really well with it, and they created a whole industry. And they're actually really lovely guys. They wanted to go out and wanted to help people to find ways to be significantly more financially productive and self-determined. So, and the part they're doing is really cool. And so there's a few other people doing sort of stuff that I'm doing, but in just different segments of it. We're kind of covering off all the bases.
So essentially, what they've got like realestate.com website, and they're giving you, and there's a whole bunch of tools that you can obviously use where you can do all of the analyzing and all that type of thing.
Yeah,
as you can.
They have reasonable analytical tools, not as good. We've got some better systems.
Yeah, perfect.
But certainly, there's a lot of it there. Really, the trick to this is actually knowing what to look for and what to avoid, and that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other things about making sure that you don't create a job for yourself. People go out and buy franchises, from all sorts of different companies, and really, I look at them and I think, my God, all you're doing is buying a job. They go out and they buy the franchise. They pay a fortune for it. They pay a fortune to set up the shop. And have literally a fortune, and then they make 20, 30, 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
And, and they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. And to me, it's complete madness. But hey, I hope no one out there owns a franchise, and I do apologize if I've offended anyone. I really don't mean to. I get a little bit passionate. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? Because it all has to do with Intervesting, and I've used the word a few times. I have a business called The Intervestor. But what is Intervesting? Intervesting is the art of buying digital real estate for profit. So, and it's really that simple. We go out and we find websites that are profitable and we buy them. And the reason... the thing that makes it so beautiful, and what John was kind of skirting around, is it's the exact opposite to actually going out and building a website and then building a promotional plan and then building traffic to the website until eventually you start making some money. I did that for a while. I tried that, and a lot of internet marketing approaches are around doing just that, creating a presence and then promoting it and then making the business. Well, it's really not that easy to do. And what I realized was, why should I go and spend all this time, money, energy, effort, and it's a big combination of those, in finding, in putting a site together when I can simply just go out and buy a website that's already been built, has already been proven, is making good money, and just take it over. It's that simple, really. So this is Tommy Freeman. He was one of my very early members. He joined up with me, and this was actually his first website. And this is, I think, the first testimonial I ever got, and I love this testimonial. And he's such a nice guy. He's become a good friend, and we actually do quite a bit of work together these days. He lives on the opposite side of the planet. I've never met him ever, but we work together quite a lot. He bought a website for $760, and it turned over $750 the first 21 days that he owned it. So he pretty much got all his money back in 3 weeks. What I think he got a promotional plan from the guy, and he just went straight into it and spent 4 or 5 hours and just really hammered it for a while. But I can tell you that, and the reason I like this one is because he's had that site for 2.5 years now, and it averages him $9,000 a year in straight profit. And so that you're hearing me here, $9,000 a year out of a $760 website.
And how much time would you have to put into that now to get a sense of that?
He told me the other day, actually, because I was asking him about it. He said he slacked off and he got down to about 1 hour every 3 months, and the income started to drop away. And so now he's averaging 1 to 2 hours a month, and it's holding nice and steady.
Okay.
So, the average income in Australia is 30 grand? I think it is 35 grand. So how many of these go into one of those?
You don't need many.
Okay, so with 4 of these sorts of sites, you could actually earn an average wage in Australia, and you would spend 4 hours a month maintaining that wage.
Yep.
On an investment of $3,200. So, mind you, not all of them are this good, and this is a particularly good one, but they're out there. They definitely are out there. The norm is around 100 to between 50 and 150%. Although with the smaller sites, you can, like this one here, you can find them making your money back in 3 months. It's not hard to find those ones.
Yeah, I'd assume that if you're going to be spending 50 or or more thousand on a site, there's, the guys are going to be a little bit smarter in the way.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised if you go at the end of this webinar. If you go to my homepage, and there's a video on the front that's called "Investing versus Real Estate" on the homepage, and watch that video. And this is real world example of a website that what was it called again? Sorry, I come across so many of them all the time. I forget the names, but it basically sold music. It was an affiliate site for iTunes, essentially, and it was $50,000, and it was making $72,000 a year.
Wow!
So, and when I compared that to real estate, well, you'll see. Watch the video after the webinar.
We'll give you
so if all that Investing does for you is get you just one deal like Tommy's, I've got to ask the question, would it be worth your while?
But,
and I'm really interested to know. Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Yeah, of course.
My ears are flapping wildly, Andrew.
So, and the best part is to get started, there's no overheads, there's no expensive setup, there's no product creation, there's no marketing, there's no list building. And you don't even have to own a website, or you don't have to create a website, because you're actually just buying one.
Yeah.
So the fact is that if you can write an email and send it, then you actually have, you know what, getting on this webinar is about all the skill set that you need. If you can get on this webinar and watch it and respond to me, then that's about all the skills that you need in terms of your technical skills that are required to do what we do with Investing. And the beautiful thing is, there's me again. I love showing photos of myself. not really, I'm just joking.
That looks like Mount Agung.
It's Mount Agung in Bali. I did it just a few weeks ago. And the reality is you can do this from anywhere. And I actually did check my mail while I was up there. I know that's terrible, isn't it? But it was an hour between when we got to the top and the sunrise coming. So. Okay, so Steve is another one of our members. He is, I invested in this site with him, and the first month we made $3,288.53. Now, that site makes about 40% per annum. We spent $75,000 buying it, so we've had that for a couple of years now. It's made its money back. And in fact, if we were to sell it, we'd get exactly maybe more than we paid for it back. So yeah, it's a great money earner, 40% returns. And actually, Steve's been grumbling a bit with me recently because he wants to get rid of it because it's not making enough money. And I said to him, how much effort did you put into this site in the last year, Steve? And he hasn't spent more than half an hour a month on it, and I haven't spent more than an hour a month on it, and it's making $38,000-$40,000 a year. And I'm just like, do we really need to sell it? Why do we want to sell it?
Kind of sounds like this whole industry kind of changes your whole perspective.
And the reality is we'll just turn it around and sell it for the same price we bought it for. Yeah, because it's made us a nice income for a while, and not tip that my part of the money into something else. You know? Maybe go to India for a month or two. I don't know. My girlfriend's been talking about it. So, have you been considering internet marketing as a strategy? Well, look at this. The return on investment on internet marketing sites compared to technology, automotive, health, and sport, the yields in these other areas are significantly higher. So if you're kind of sticking with internet marketing, or it's something that you've been kind of considering, then I would really, really reconsider that position, because there are lots of websites out there, and particularly if you're into golf, and go and buy a golfing website that's selling golfing computers, or there's all sorts of different sites out there that are related to golf. And it's something you're passionate about. It's something you're really interested in. You can actually enjoy what you do. Yeah. You can have fun with it, and that's the beautiful part. So,
well, that's the real thing that interested me here, because lots of people see this as a great investment strategy, and they'll see I can just buy a whole bunch of different things. But what really interested me when you actually spoke about this whole idea of let's be clear that people will only really do the things that they love
Yeah.
to do every single day, and if you don't give them something which they
Well, this is half of the
on purpose.
opportunities are out there from people that have bought
Yeah.
sites that they're really not that passionate about.
Exactly.
And they've just bought it for the money because it's earning outrageously good money, and they kind of neglect them a bit. I mean, we know what it's like. We all do it.
Yep.
We all don't look after some of our stuff as well as we could. You know?
So that makes total sense. And of course, if you've got a business that you're in and you've already got an industry and whatever else, there's a whole bunch of websites out there that do exactly that, and actually you can just add that to you straight away.
In terms of business, if you've got an existing bricks and mortar business, in terms of what you can do in terms of growing your business by acquiring online businesses within your industry, it's phenomenal. I mean, you can triple, quadruple, you make your business 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
In literally a few months if you want to, and if you have the capacity to do so, by buying in that same industry and just basically shifting your business online.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities for business owners. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
So I'm going to run you now through the 8-step process, which I promised that I would do. So step 1 is to find an existing, well-established and operating business, a website business. Right? Then you do due diligence to verify the details. Does it meet our criteria? And some of that criteria we went through in step 1, and I'm going to take you through a little bit more later on. Then you negotiate its purchase. Are you able to buy it at the right price? If you can, do it. If you can't, don't. I actually am a firm believer if it's not 100% exactly what you want and you feel totally happy with it, then don't do it. You know, often we find ourselves investing in stuff that feels a bit irky because there's just so few opportunities. But with this, there's lots and lots of opportunities. So we analyze its potential, the time demands, its profitability, and does it actually meet all of our criteria? And if it does, we go ahead and buy it. And we get someone else to transfer it and do all that kind of technical stuff. So then we just earn good money off it. In fact, amazing returns, as you've seen. And then there's a couple of different ways you can do it. And if you get it and like it's not performing quite as well as you want, for instance, Steve's thing with 40% not being enough. So, you do a little bit of a fix-up on it and you turn it around for a profit. If you can do a lot of a fix-up if you want to, but I don't like to waste my time on stuff like that. Just turn it over, and if you make, $1,000 or $5,000 or something, hey, great,
Yeah.
And if it's doing really well, you can also identify and implement ways to get it to make even more money, and there's lots of different ways to do that. And then you basically start at 1 and go through to 8 again, and it's really that simple. There's nothing more to this than that. So that's the 8-step.
It seems like a real simple strategy, and what I like about it is that there's a lot of stuff, even though you whip through that pretty quickly, there's a lot of stuff that's easy to kind of get through. And I'd suggest, given that some of you are already on Flipper, you're probably searching and actually finding a few examples or opportunities there already, which is exactly what happens. You can if you've been investing, or if you know probably, or you've got a little bit of a background on that side, what the fundamentals are.
Yeah, you do.
Investment.
Look, at the end of the day, if you've done any kind of investing at all, this is actually very easy. And the one thing that seems scary, which is what I call the technology hurdle, it's really not as big a hurdle as it looks. And the reality is that you don't need any of that technical knowledge at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're better off without it, because you can focus on your real job, which is going out and finding fantastic investments, and then you hand it off to other people. Yeah. And one of the beautiful things about the internet is that there are people all around the world that you can work with. And some of them, like there's people in Pakistan that, $5 or $3 an hour is a great wage for them. And it really is a good wage for them. And they've got the same technical skills that somebody who's just graduated from UIT or somewhere like that, or UTS, that would be demanding $100, $200 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and often they're actually better.
Now, of course, you can get just caught up in the whole technical thing if you start looking for that.
Yeah.
So I can see how it makes sense just to kind of keep.
I actually do some of the technical stuff because I actually really enjoy it. I like to build websites. It's kind of fun. And so I do them mostly for friends, and I have people coming to me all the time, and I tell them I don't unless they're doing something really interesting. Then I'll just go, you know, and I'll build it for you. That'll be fun. But I use templates, and I certainly don't delve into coding or anything like that.
Yeah,
I never would. It's horrible stuff. Okay, so let's keep going with the training. Here's 4 more steps that you can do today. So the 5 elements to evaluating a deal are evaluating the traffic. Evaluating the traffic is really important. Looking at the recent changes, looking at the ownership, looking at the income, and looking at the content. So you can do a quick evaluation of the traffic using websiteoutlook.com. I hope you guys are making some notes. Recent changes is archive.org. You can check ownership at whois.sc. And income is usually listed with the deal or you request it. And then the content is, I'll show you in a little while how to do that. So checking the traffic with Flippa is super easy. Generally, you'll find that they have a thing called verified Google Analytics. So we all know Google. Google Analytics is just some code that Google puts onto websites, or website owners put onto their own website from Google, and they track how many people are coming to the site and what sort of stuff they're doing when they're there. And that's about as much detail as I go into. So if it's got verified Google Analytics, then the number that's at the top of the listing is real. And that's it's as easy as it is. So, and usually you'll see that if you go into one of those documents, it'll show you how many visitors and how many of them are unique. The difference between visitors and unique visitors is a unique visitor is a person from a single computer that goes to a website. That person might look at 5 pages. Each one of those pages they look at is counted as a visit. So if you get 10 people, 5 of which go to a website and look at 5 pages, the other ones look at 1, then you've got uniques and a difference between uniques and visitors. And it's really that. There's nothing more to it than that.
And this is all just in the listed against.
It's in the listing,
so
yeah. That stuff's in the listing. You don't have to muck around too much with that. If it says, for me, I look at the traffic, and if it says that it's verified Google traffic, then I just look at that top number. I don't really look at anything else.
Gotcha.
Archive.org, we mentioned. This is called the Wayback Machine is actually its name. You can see it there in the picture. Look, I've jumped ahead. But essentially what we're doing is we're checking its history. We want to see that, it wasn't a porn site before or something like that, and just that it's generally kind of got a nice clean history to it. The ownership you can verify. In fact, now with Flippa, right in the listing, it'll actually tell you whether the ownership has been verified by a file upload. Okay. So Flippa gets them to just put a file onto the website, and it then can check it and see, and it's verified. If it's not there, then you can go to whois.sc and you can look at it there and see that it is the same person. Sometimes I'll get them to send me a driver's license or something like that.
But these are the things that if they're selling the website, they're going to be ready with all that anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. So and then the other thing is the income, and this is a golden piece of information. When you are negotiating with the seller, ask them for a video proof. If they won't give you a video proof, then just don't bother. Move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Because there's usually something dodgy going on. If they're in fact pretty much across the board, if they're not willing to give you the basic fundamental information of the business, and they want to send you screenshots which can so easily be doctored, then just move on. And it's funny. I have a group, a mastery group that I work with, a bunch of guys from Dubai, and they were complaining to me a couple of weeks ago. They're like, "Oh, we can't find anything on Flipper," and so we dived on during the call, and I literally I hit the most active, and in the page with about 10 listings, I found 6 sites that were really worth investigating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, you're just not looking properly.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. They just was sort of skimming a bit. And so it was actually a really useful exercise.
You'd probably find that people just get caught up in their own stuff, kind of running around, rather than going, well, these are the fundamentals. Go and look for this first.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than going off on a whole bunch of other ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we always try to be smarter than.
Yeah, and we do try to be so much smarter than we need to be. Particularly, I've noticed it with this. Too much looking for blue sky and all that sort of stuff. For how we can grow it and all that sort of stuff. It's not really the right approach with investing. So get video proof. The best is if you can get on a call with them and they share their video with you. Otherwise, get them to record it. And that's how you check the income. Now, you can also get all the other guff, like their business registration and all that kind of stuff. But really, we're just going for the fundamentals here of what you need to buy a relatively low price site. You can check the content. It's always good to do that to see whether it's been copied from somewhere else or whether there's another 25 identical sites out there.
Mm-hmm.
I steer away from sites where there's too many variations of it.
Yeah.
Just because what it basically means is the seller's going out and making another one and making another one and making another one and making another one and making and so how long are they going to do that for before it starts to affect the income? So I generally look for sites that don't have a lot of copies out there. So you can click on this little button. This is again in Flipper. You can click on this button and look closer at potential copies of the content on this site. That's a blow up of it there, and no copies found when you actually click that button. And that's what you want to see. That's what I like to see. And that's that same website. So how do you set up a deal? So that's the basics of valuation. So how do you set up a deal? It's really simple. You go into Flipper, you sign up, and all you do is you fill out this registration form, and then literally once you've signed up, you can go and place a bid. And it's really, there's nothing more to it than that. So step 3 is super easy. Step 4 is about once you've actually got a site, how you might improve the asset value. Now, one of the ways that you can do that is you can go to sites that sell promotional type materials. We actually set up this site, Bugwist Marketing, specifically for our members for the cheaper sites, so they can go in and add maps and do some email marketing and do logos and all that kind of stuff. We do a lot of traffic sort of stuff in there as well. The other thing is if you have to get any work done on the site, then you outsource it. In fact, it's not just work on the site. If there is anything at all technical that needs to be done, then this is where you go to get it done. Don't try and do it yourself. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use an analogy. Maybe a few of you guys own a house. How many of you guys own a house? Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question.
Robert?
Are you a builder or a plumber or an electrician? Are any of you those professions?
I know that some of them are.
Okay, so and even if you are a builder, you're not an electrician, you're not a plumber, you're actually a builder or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So the reality is that and the vast majority of people that own homes anywhere in the world, but let's say Australia, are not builders, plumbers, or electricians, and yet they actually are able to own a house, right? They don't need to know what the distance between the studs needs to be, or what the the government, the local council regulations around distance between walls and fences and that sort of stuff. They don't need to know any of that detail. In fact, if the lights stop working, do they need to actually pull out a screwdriver and turn the power off and start rewiring the house? Of course they don't. You call an electrician, you get them to come and fix it, and if the toilet backs up, you do the same thing. Now, some of us are more handy than others, but it's sort of, you get my general point here, is that you don't need the technical knowledge of how to build a house in order to own one. And it's exactly the same with a website. You don't need the technical knowledge of how to build a website in order to be able to own one. You need to know how to run a business.
Yep.
Right? That's what you need to know. And if the door on the shop needs to be replaced, you get the door replacement guy to come and replace the door. And it's the same thing with a website. If there's a new banner that needs to go in, or you need to put in a new registration box, then you get the programmer, to do that for you. And as long as you understand the fundamentals of good design and automation, the fundamentals, like how do we make this as simple and as easy as possible to run, then that's all you need to know, and you just get those guys to do it for you. Okay, so this Odesk.com outsourcing, it was actually the one thing that actually allowed me to, more than anything, allowed me to actually really thrive in this business, because whenever I needed something done, I could always find someone to go and do it for me.
And do you now just have teams of people that you just regularly go back to because of that?
Yeah, and now I've got, I work with a bunch of people on Skype, and when I need to get something done, and now I'm at a point where I know if there's a particular thing I need to get done, designed in a certain way, that I've got 3 guys that are really good at doing it that way, and I've got another 2 guys that are good at doing other things, and I've got a girl who does amazing research. I've got this girl I've employed her for 3 years now, right? And she does web research for me. So she builds email lists essentially. And I pay her $1.20 an hour. And that was how much she asked for. Right? Originally she asked for 80 cents an hour, and I said, no, I can't do it. And so I gave her $1.20, and she works autonomously. Literally, she'll disappear for 3 months, and I can, with Odesk, they take screenshots of the desktop when people are working.
Yeah.
Right. So you can track it all. And I gave her a job. I gave her a job last year. It was classic. I asked her to go out and find every alternative health practitioner in Australia for me, and I gave her a couple of pointers on some websites to go to. So it was about 3 months later, and I thought, oh my God, I haven't spoken to her for ages. I wonder what she's up to. And literally the next day, and I thought, oh, I've got to send her an email. And literally the next day, she got in contact with me. She said, I'm all done now. I'm going to go on to working on the US. She'd collected 14,000 emails and business addresses, phone numbers, and every category and every practice that they'd, like if people worked in 3 or 4 practices, every practice they were in. And the whole thing cost me literally like $300. And I didn't need to chase her or hassle her or anything like that. And I kind of thought she'd be at it for much longer, actually. And this is a girl in the Philippines. She's actually got a couple of kids. So working from home for her is a massive bonus. And she just knows that as long as she's logging in the hours, that she's going to get paid, because the system does it all automatically. So I barely have to manage it. So I think the point I'm making is it's really quite simple. It can take you a little while to find the right people, but it's really very simple. So finding someone to do all this expert work is, again, very easy. You create a free account in Odesk, and then you post a job, and you basically need to write a little description, and you can categorize it all and exactly the kind of people you need. So finding more, and that's it. That's in managing it. That's really all there is to do. Usually, you'll get a list from the seller of the things that he does. I always ask for a promotional program, and most of them can give it. And that's really all there is to it. And you can work out pretty quickly. The seller will tell you how many hours a week you need to spend on it, or hours a month you need to spend on it. Some sites it's nothing, literally nothing. I go into that in other areas. So finding more cash generating digital properties, they're not just on Flipper. Flipper is probably one of the easiest. There are a bunch of others. So would you like to know more of these websites? More sites like Flipper?
I think
I'm guessing the answer is probably
yes.
yes.
So I reckon we've got to put them up.
Okay, so here they are, and I'll leave them up for a little while and gas bag on a bit.
I'll pop them into the chat box over there.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so they'll be there for you. Website properties, website broker, Craigslist. Believe it or not, you can find some really good websites there, and eBay. And then, of course, there are the brokers. And the brokers are some of my dearest friends now. We've become very good friends. All right, so can you guys see how powerful this is? I didn't bother to leave it up for too long because John's just dropped it into the chat box.
Yeah.
So you can see that.
Matthew, God, yes.
Yeah, God, yes. Okay, so, and this is this is how you can actually take this to the next level. And so I think you've probably, gathered from what I've been saying, because I talked about mentors and all that sort of stuff, that I actually work directly with people and help them do this. What we have is we've kind of created a system called the Intervestor Inner Circle. And what this is it's an online course, and it's actually just 5 very simple, easy steps along the lines of what I just showed you, but with a bit more detail and a bit more juice in it. Of how to actually do this. So the success of our foundation members when we first started out was phenomenal, nothing short of phenomenal. And I used them as guinea pigs, actually. I got them in and I kind of put together the course because I'd just been doing it myself, and it occurred to me one day, well, hang on a second, I've got a system here. Like I was looking at my checklist and I thought, wow, I had a friend actually come sit down and have a coffee with me because I used to do it out of a coffee shop in Byron. And he sat down next to me. He's like, oh, can you show me how to do it? And I thought, wow, I could actually pretty much show anyone how to do this. And then, coming out of Fiji where I'd set up all this, like I built schools and I set up this business incubator system in the resort that we created because I also had 90 shops in the resort. And it was it wasn't a classic resort. It was, all the locals used to use it. There was a supermarket in there and everyone kind of came and we had markets on. I actually created like the biggest weekend market in Fiji. We had 20,000 people turn up, which is like half the population of the island. And so I'd gone for quite a few years before the coup brought me undone, like spending a lot of time really just helping people. Mm-hmm. And it was, I've got to say, it was one of the most, besides now, gratefully, it was one of the happiest times of my life. And in hindsight, I looked at it, it was because I was actually spending so much time helping people. Yeah. We set up micro loans for businesses and we did all that sort of stuff. And it was just great, I'd see these people who really intrepid about starting, like this one lady who started a little massage business and she was really scared, and I helped her out. And within a few months, she had a thriving business and was really happy and was making more money than she'd ever made in her life. And it just gave me a real kick. And so the Intervestor kind of, another part of this and why I'm doing this is it gave me a really beautiful feeling like helping people. And so I decided to do the same thing with Intervestor that I'd done with the Arts Village. So, okay, so Mike, here you can read what he has to say. Quite a proven revenue generating website that provided me massive passive income For years to come, I've since gained more confidence about the process of buying profitable websites, and I'm now looking at my next deal. Mike was very, very wary. He really, really struggled to buy his first one, but he got it. I think it was a couple of months it took him, maybe 3 months, something like that. And once he did, off he went. Lucinda was the exact opposite. Lucinda was she was on the first webinar I ever did. Before I had even finished step one, she was already buying a website. And she was in the Q&A, she was asking, like, how do I manage this thing? How do I run it? She'd already bought it. And she says after, but it was actually during. I think she was a bit embarrassed by the fact, actually. And she went on in the first few months to buy another 6 or 7 sites. And within 3 months, she'd broken even. And yeah, she did really well with it. And she's still doing really well with it. Okay, so what do you get? And I'm going to let John run through this, and if you have any questions about it, just ask me, because this is kind of a nice thing for him to do.
Well,
so hang on, here we go. He's going to push my buttons now.
Well, okay. This is interesting for me because I squizzed through this yesterday. So what's really interesting is that Eric has broken this down into different modules, and it's really, really simple. He's shown me the back end of the system, and I've looked through, and that's all these like really simple, quick videos on exactly how to do each part of it. So it's like a really quick learning environment. So there's not a lot of messing around trying to get through like 30 or 40 minutes of videos. They're like quick, to the point, and they get you the information. So website basics, types of deals that you can do, simple discovery process, how to grow the market, or where the growing market segments are, and how to find domains and high value potential across multiple networks. And as I'm going through this, you're welcome to ask any questions here, because I've got obviously Eric sitting right next to me. But just that on its own, Eric, if you were to just use just this on its own, finding the deal, is this all you need?
It's not all you need, but it's certainly a really good head start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, the next section, which is module 2, is really where the nuts and bolts of it all is.
Okay, but from a perspective of finding the deal, that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Okay.
In terms of finding, discovery process, yeah, absolutely everything you need.
And then evaluating.
And John's right. You're absolutely right. I keep the videos to a minimum. Like, I don't like to do videos more than 5 or 10 minutes. There's a couple of the how-to videos that are a bit longer, because I go into a bit of detail in the evaluation stuff. But I did a few courses before I built one, and one of the things that annoyed the daylights out of me is you want to do some revision, and it's like there's 5 videos and each of them are an hour long, and it's somewhere buried in video 2 or 3, and you can't remember. You got to sit through the whole blasted thing, and it drove me nuts. So I just kind of took a completely different thing. I was just like, put in 50 videos, but make them all, I think it's actually only about 30 odd videos, but make them all 5 to 7 minutes long. Some of them are 2 minutes.
Perfect. Now this one here, this one's really, really important. In fact, the evaluating the deal, and let's just push those, let's put them all on there, because these ones here, like my instant concern was, how long is it going to take me to actually do due diligence on this? Is there some place for me to kind of like get some historical information where I can actually be really confident about the sale or the purchase of the next one?
Your longest due diligence process is your first one, because that's where you're most intrepid, right?
Yeah.
And so, but for instance, so with my mastery group the other day, we were analysing a $12,000 site called gearfuse.com. And I was kind of giving them the hurry up, because sometimes these really good ones, and this was a really good one, sell really quickly. It was earning 50% return, so not the 100, but the guy neglected the daylights out of it, and the income had gone down, and all he needed to do was spend an extra $200 a month, and the income was going to shoot back up easily over 100%.
Yeah.
So for me personally, this particular deal came from a broker, and the broker I know, and he's never given me a dud deal. And I know he does his research. He's a very fastidious guy. He really dots all his I's and crosses his T's. So for me, the due diligence process on that website was maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was all I needed, because I'd asked and I'd sent an email the night before. I said, I want to see video proof of the income and a couple of other things that we go through in the course and say, outline all the key things. So I'd emailed him the day before. He sent me back an email literally the same night. And I got up in the morning, I looked through the stuff he sent me, and that was it. I was, in my mind, it was an absolute go.
Yeah.
But I passed that on to my mastery group, because I don't like to compete with my members. It's a difficult line I tread, because sometimes I'm just like, come on, buy the blasted thing, because it's a really good deal and you're going to miss it. So yeah, big picture evaluation, simple front end, back end analysis. And this is really just looking at how, what does the website look like? Does it feel trustworthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's old and tired? Or,
does it feel like, is it intriguing? Do you look at it and go, oh yeah, I'm interested in that? If it interests you, then it's going to be interesting to other people. And a lot of it's common sense, and just so much of it's really common sense.
Got it.
But what I do is I just guide you and steer you in the right direction. And a lot of times people try to overcomplicate it, and I just keep pulling them back and saying, no. Forget that. Keep it simple. KISS,
Well, let's have a look at the next one. So.
Also, we have a transaction database on every sale in the last 2.5 years. Actually, you know what? That number's wrong. It's the last 3.5 years. So we've tracked every sale on Flipper and those sorts of, website broker and all of those. Every sale that's happened, and all the broker listings around the world, we've tracked all of those. And so we've got pretty much every sale that's happened that's been transacted online.
So that's like an RP data for
essentially,
for online property.
Yeah, we've got all of it. It's all stored in our systems. Well, it's actually we do this with a partner of ours in the UK, and so they've created the tools, and we just run them on our site. So.
Fabulous.
So, and it's not just the actual sales. We actually have the feedback from the buyers about the sellers.
Oh wow!
And all of that sort of stuff. Like, it's very, very comprehensive.
Brilliant.
So yeah, evaluating the deal is probably the most. It's the part that kind of scares people the most, but it's really actually not that hard.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, like anything, first time you get on a bike, it's super wobbly, But once you've ridden it up and down the road for half an hour, it's okay, And a month later, you're belting down the hill and everything's fine,
Yeah.
So, and it's much the same thing. So module 3, look, I've taken your job over. I'll let you keep going now.
Well, doing the deal is a part which is always fun. It's like the negotiation process, and if you've come to Bali, you only have to go down to the local markets to really have a bit of fun with that, and you'd probably actually learn a lot from doing that, because obviously this is all about getting the emotions out the way and all that type of thing. So I can see how this is obviously really pivotal to that. And of course, there's documentation and things to tick off, and there's transfers of
it's actually a lot simpler than real world stuff.
Yeah,
it's a lot simpler.
But it's relatively simple. You obviously don't need a lawyer involved in most cases, but
if it's a big deal, I'll always have a lawyer look over the documents.
That makes sense.
But if you're spending $50,000-$100,000, of course you want to have a lawyer look over it. But if it's a $500 site or now actually I don't bother using lawyers for $100,000 deals.
Yeah,
I just, it's no point.
Yeah,
I've got the contracts. I've been using them for ages, which you also will be getting.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, basic acquisition steps and how to sell for quick profits and deal funding and all that sort of stuff.
Got it. All right, and growing the deal. So this was the interesting thing was I always, the first thing when I spoke to Eric, I instantly thought he was going to be showing me how to take a website and renovate it and put it back on the market and sell it. And of course, what he does is a very simple version of, even though that's one small aspect of what he does, or some of the things that he does. Most of the stuff that Eric does is actually just find a good deal already, do very little to it, then either keep it or sell it on. That's what I liked about it, was like, you just keep everything so simple. Get yourself out of the way of being too smart in this whole industry.
If you can make 100% return by not doing too much, isn't that much better than making 100% by doing lots and lots?
Yeah, exactly right. We've got some really interesting questions coming through as well. With what kind of personality types would be great for this. It's really interesting because there's actually, and I asked the same question to Eric, and when I considered who's this kind of, who would do well in this, and there's different aspects of it, and I think from my perspective, it's like property, it's like the property industry. There's a way of doing it which is more for creators. They're going to probably want to move the deal over quicker because they'd rather just get onto the next one, because they want more creative people want to just move on to the next cool thing. Where somebody who's more grounded and who's more connected to trading will look at the right timing to buy it, and when to sell it and stuff like that, versus somebody who would be more on the steel side, who would be more into buying and holding the asset and using it that way. So there's a place to play for everybody, and I think like where we're talking about like growing, even this part of growing the deal, this here would actually be more accessible, more exciting for most people to be flipping the deals and stuff like that based on the kind of personality. So it's going to be based on the way that you actually end up playing this game is going to be based on the kind of person that you are, and the way that you interact with them, and how you like to maybe even tinker with them. So if somebody more mechanic style person who would want to actually take it and pull it apart and put it back together and do it better. So there is a place for everyone to play, and hence why I was pretty okay with speaking to a wider audience on this, to say, well, let's have everybody have a look at this and see how it fits for you.
There's a question here about how does a website make money. Can we just save that to the Q&A?
Yeah.
Because it's actually very simple.
Yeah.
I mean, how does Amazon make money? They sell books and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are 5 different ways that you can, fundamental types of ways to make money.
Anything else you want to talk about on the growing the deal?
Yeah, look, it all comes down to, and the character types question is a good one, because it really, investing works for all character types, and you just do different things. You focus on different ways. You start flipping, you do lots of acquisition, you buy and hold, and also for people in different situations, like 12.5% of our members are full-time investors now, which is an outrageously high number. But we have members that, they've got the job and they do the thing, and they just bought one website, for instance, and it, like Tommy, Tommy's, I think he's only bought one, and he's doing a bunch of other stuff, but it's done exceptionally well for him, and well, maybe he's bought 1 or 2 others, I don't know, but something that makes him $9,000 a year. He invested significantly less than that. So, it can be a nice little supplementary income. In fact, I've got one guy who invested, and all he's done is the money that he's making out of that site's just going into his retirement fund. That's all it does. And so he is not having to save for his retirement. So he's got his own self-managed super set up. He's got a couple of these websites in it, and it just keeps rolling. He just keeps rolling it back in.
Yeah.
And so the money that he was kind of stressing about having to put aside, he could stop stressing about that, and that's all it's done for him. But gee, I mean, it's a pretty good thing, really.
Yeah.
You
No, I
know.
get that.
So how you use it, and who it's good for, it's really like I personally believe, and it's maybe because I'm the creator of it, but I personally believe everyone can do this. And it's good for everyone.
Yeah.
Because every dollar that you make doing this is a self-determined dollar, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're making the money for yourself. You're not working for somebody else. You're not, well, most of the time you're working for the tax department. I restarted a restaurant and it was just horrendous. He used to make 4 times more than I did.
I think we can have a whole seminar on how to set up a tax structure around this, given that it's all an internet business as well.
Well, yeah, and there is actually,
that.
we do. This is one of the things that we dive into inside is how to maximize for tax. And there's lots of, because they're businesses that are not necessarily based in your own country.
Yep.
There are some great ways to deal with that. It's really cool, actually.
And of course, if you're going to go live somewhere else in the world, which is outside of the country that you're currently paying tax in, then go do that and set it up, which is more effective. Yeah.
So the last one's minding your business, and this is a really simple one. We basically just go through business basics, the outsourcing, which we kind of touched on before, so I won't go into a lot of detail. Vendor selection, so these are just your suppliers and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Every business you have suppliers, like you have a hosting company and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So how to select the right ones, best practices essentially.
Yep.
So it's all about minimizing the amount of work that you need to do to get that return.
Got it.
And so you can do it all sorts of different ways, and I've done it for several years now, and I figured out, okay, that's the simplest and cheapest way to do this. And that's what I share. So that's the 5 modules, and then I've also kind of compiled a document library because I'm generating, contracts and lists and all sorts of things, and have been for a while. I basically just uploaded all of those to make it easier for you. So we were talking about the lawyer before.
Yeah.
You can get a contract out of the Investor document library, and you can just tweak it yourself. If it's something that you look at and go, oh, it's too scary, fair enough. I know not everybody likes to play around with that, but if it's a $500 site, generally it's a 1-page document. Say, I agree to buy, you agree to sell, xyz.com, and there's nothing more to it than that. But we do go into payment methods and stuff like that to make sure that you do it properly.
Yeah.
So there's the My Investor Interactive Community. We basically just set up a forum in the membership site, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a great place for people to network, and also an opportunity to set up joint ventures and stuff like that. We do have members that, for instance, that have learned how to do it, but don't really want to do it themselves. And what all they do is they just team up with people who actually enjoy doing it and become partners, and they buy websites together, and they basically end up being passive investors. But the thing is that they understand what it's all about, and they're working with people they know also understand it because they've learnt it. And finding out what's happening now, that's all really important. Plus, we have a Facebook group as well, so there's a lot of interaction goes on there. And that kind of valuable information, I think, is pretty priceless. So this is probably the most significant thing in the system, and that is, and it's not because it's me, it sounded so bad the way I said that then, but what we do is, one of the things I hate about online courses is you buy it and then you're left to your own devices, and you kind of got to figure it out once you get in. It's almost impossible. It never looks like it did on the sales and letter and all that sort of stuff, and you just got to figure it out for yourself. The support people generally pretty useless. They can't answer the burning questions that you have. They'll tell you how to fix your login, but they won't tell you how to actually implement a blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I just bit the bullet and I said, okay, I'm going to do a weekly live Q&A once a week for everyone. And that means that every week you've got 3 different touch points. You've got the forum, you've got the Facebook group, and then you all can also get on a call with me, like this webinar, and I'll open up the mic and you can ask your question and I'll answer it. And generally, the reality is there's generally not more than 40 or 50 questions, so we're talking about the same sort of things over and over again, but not always, because there's also, what I like to do is I open each session with what's gone on for the last week and what's happening, what's new in the industry, what's going, what's hot at the moment, that sort of thing. So it's also a really nice touch point for finding out what's the latest and greatest, and getting your specific question answered. And yeah, I know that everyone just loves that. I do that.
Yeah,
it's a big bonus, really.
That's massive value, and just the fact that you've done that, Eric, made me feel so comfortable and suggesting people come along and have a little listen and see this as a great opportunity to actually build this for themselves. Given that you're right in there, you've literally looked at.
Yeah, I'm elbows deep in this one. There's no doubt about it. You can see I've almost got my sleeves rolled up in the photo.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, generally I do one-on-one coaching for people, and I charge $2,500 a month for that. So it's pretty much the same, but it's a group. Okay, so why is it so important? And here's the secret that I know that I get into trouble from people for saying this, but I like to do it because it's the truth. The industry average for people taking action and actually using other online money-making systems have a success rate as small as 2%. And it's actually just a bit under 2%. So that means that 98 out of 100 people who buy other systems do nothing with them at all. In the industry, we call this shelf help, right? And I'm part of the industry now. So I kind of avoided it for a long time, but yeah, shelf help. It's just stuff that people buy, makes them feel good to buy, and then they put it on the shelf and forget about it and never use it again. Now, at the Indivestor, more than 40% of our members actually take action and buy one or more profitable websites.
Woohoo! Hello.
Right? So, why does this happen? It's because we have regular live access, and we actually really want you to do well, right? Because when you're successful, I'm successful. And I do deals with my members. They go out and find great websites and come to me and go, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And I go, "Yeah, let's do it." And oftentimes I go, "Well, you want to do it with me?" And I'm, "Yeah, why not?" So I've kind of created this wonderful network of people that go out and we all help each other, And so we do everything that we can, and we give you all the tools that you need to be the biggest success you can be. And that's why so many people do so well. So my question to you is, why would you put your time and your money and your energy into other systems that are only going to give you a 2% chance of succeeding? And if you're still not sure, listen to what Keith has to say. Keith was my biggest critic. And when I got this, he was always on to me about everything, this guy. And I really loved him for it, because he was one of my foundation members, and he helped me to craft the system into what it is now. And it was his constant pushing me that made it as good as it is. And when I got this, I was just like, wow, this is what he really thinks of it, because he never really kind of expressed it to me. So you can see that, and yeah, he definitely, and I think the other reason he asked me so many questions is because he was a complete computer Neanderthal, no idea, literally. And my whole thing when I said earlier in the webinar, if you can send an email, you've got all the technical skills. That's all he could do. That's all he could do. His wife put him on the webinar. He couldn't figure out how to do it. But his first website was a $15,000 website that made him 60% return, So, and he's never really looked back from there. So you also get the Indivestor Toolbox, and I kind of touched on this earlier. We have We actually have like a website opportunity hot list and simple deal analysis tools that consolidate everything from everywhere into one page, basically, on the website. And that's where you get all the stats and everything. It's all set up and done for you. You actually have a portfolio there where you can kind of list up the sites that you're doing your discovery on and kind of create a short list of the stuff that you're going to delve into deeper. And all from one location in the membership site. So no more sort of scouting around the web. You don't have to go to whois.sc and you don't have to go to archive.org, and it's all just there right at your fingertips.
That's cool.
These are a couple of screen grabs. Owen, priceless. I'm sort of skipping here and there, but yeah, this is a screen grab from the actual the website tools toolbox. And you can see there's different listings there. So all the pertinent information there tells you where it's listed. That page just happened to be all Flippa. But it shows you the bin price, which is the buy it now price, the current bid, how many bids, shows you the revenue, but we also pull the profit and the rank. Now these ones are, for some reason, I've shown an example with 0. It's crazy, but there are a lot of websites out there that are not making money and people actually buy them. It astounds me. Like the Sophie bags, here's an example. They got a bin price of $20,000 and somebody has made a bid of $2,700 for a website that has 0 monthly revenue and 0 profit and 3,000 visitors a month. Go figure. I see this all the time. I see 150 people bid for a website that is honestly like you wouldn't buy it on your worst possible craziest afternoon if you've just been drinking all day, and yet these people do it. And so the real advantage here is that a lot of people actually don't know what the good deals are.
Yeah.
And what we teach in the Investor is how to find those good deals.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned before the Mastery Group, they were sort of saying, we can't find anything. The reality is there is a lot of rubbish on Flippa, and you have to sift through and find the good ones. But sometimes you get 5 of them in one go. And our systems help you to identify where the good ones are and what to look at and what not to look at. So you get very, very efficient and very quick at analysing websites.
Yeah, that's great.
So this is what you get: the Cashflow Academy, the Investor Document Library, ongoing weekly live Q&As, the Community Deal Forum, and the Toolbox. And the total value on that's $3,200. And we normally sell the Investor for $597 plus $67 a month. But that's actually not going to happen today because John has twisted my arm.
Well, it didn't need much twisting. It was.
So what he's managed to talk me into, and you can do the math on what was there before, he's talked me into giving it to you either on a payment plan or an annual basis, and you can see the savings there. I'm not going to be all hypey about this. It is what it is. I believe it's insanely good value for the knowledge that you get, and I work really hard to help you to become as proficient as you possibly can be, as quickly as you can be. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Oh, actually, no. What am I talking about? Sorry. So that's the offer. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee on this. So if it's really not a good fit, just give us a call. You won't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get there. But one of the things that I do expect is that you guys make a commitment to the process. I've worked really hard to keep those 40% numbers. I've worked really, really hard to make sure that everyone, as many people as possible, do well with this. And so I'm really quite selective. And it's not something you want to do if you don't have a lot of cash. And not that you need a lot of cash, but if you're down to your last dollar, this is not the gig for you. because there is investment involved. And you do need to take action. You need to make a commitment. It's not a magic pill. Like, you actually have to do stuff. So whether it's 1 hour, on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, or whether you actually dive into it and give it 8 hours a day is entirely up to you. You'll do well either way, right? You'll do a lot more if you're spending more hours, but you can do it literally 1 hour a week and you can get a handle on this.
Yeah.
I
think at the end of the day, what you're saying, Eric, and this is from my perspective as well, is like, anything that you're going to look at, be conscious about what you're getting into. I love what you say, Eric. It's not a magic pill. There's no such thing as a magic pill. There is definitely some learning in this, and there's a commitment to actually doing it and going out and actually, being a master of this, be it one site or 50 sites, and it becomes your entire life, or it doesn't. So, thank you for adding the money back guarantee in there as well for me.
Yeah, no worries. We actually don't offer it normally. I just gave it to John. So there's a couple of bonuses here. You get a virtual assistant. You get 40 hours free. The first 40 hours are free with them.
Wow.
These guys are fully trained. You're working with one of our JV partners who is a very big online virtual HR placement business, a guy called Michael. I just know him as Michael, but his business is actually a very big business. They place about 400 or 500 people a month at the moment, I think. And I cut a deal with him where we could get 40 hours free for the first month, or for the first 40 hours free. So, so they're fully trained, and he's got people that can do anything, really, and it doesn't really matter whether they're a programmer or just an assistant, or he'll place them for you. So this means you don't have to worry about any of the technical stuff, essentially. So the idea is that you go through the course, you get yourself to a level where you're ready to go, and that can be anywhere between, with some people it's literally straight out of this webinar, but generally, most people can, if they really apply themselves, they can be pretty efficient and proficient within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a long time to get through the course, and because it's broken up and easy to revise, you can always go back and quickly go through stuff if you're not sure. You can be there writing the job description in Nodesk and go, well, hang on, what did I supposed to, and you just jump back and, okay, that's right. And in the course, it's not just videos, have everything written out underneath the videos. So you can copy and paste stuff and do all that sort of stuff.
Cool. Got a few more slides to go. So thank you so much you guys for hanging on. It's we went on a little bit longer than we expected, but we're almost there. Just hang on to the end, and let's complete with this.
So we do a one-on-one strategy session as well, where we basically go through and check everything and make sure that you're setting out on the right path. And that has a pretty solid value to it as well. And then also you get the VIP pass, and this gives you access to all of our done-for-you services. Now, reality is you can come in and learn how to do it, and then you can get our people to do it all for you. And that's the truth of it. So the other thing is we have a partner program. So, and I mentioned it before, you can do deals with me, and that's all. You have access to all of this. So you get lots of great bonuses, access to, we actually have funding programs and stuff like that as well. So lots and lots of great bonuses. And all of that is included in this total here. So, so yeah, I think that's pretty much, that kind of pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
In terms of the presentation. So if there's any more questions or stuff that you guys are wanting to know about or understand a bit better, please, by all means, hit me with it now.
Who had some questions that they want to bounce off?
There was one that was, how does a website make money? Okay, so there's 5 different ways that a website can make money. They can sell physical products or physical services. Mm-hmm. So physical products is obvious. Physical services would be things like lawn mowing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's digital products and services. So digital product would be a piece of software. A digital service might be providing SEO services or teaching services, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then the fifth one is like an advertising site, essentially. Oh, that's, yeah. So it'll be a website that has like an article, and then it has a bunch of ads on the side that show you, that take you to some product that's related to the article. And so you earn money from somebody clicking on that ad and going through to the other page, that you get a commission from that ad.
Yeah.
And so that's the 5 basic ways that a website makes money. Now, some of them are more intensive than others. Digital services and products are very easy to deliver because they're delivered digitally.
Yeah.
Physical products and services are a bit more difficult because you've actually got to ship stuff out to people, and there's a cost generally that you have to cover. The advertising sites, there's no work to do at all, virtually.
Wow.
Like, it's just, and those sorts of sites, I have friends that are making $100,000 a month off those sorts of sites.
Wow.
And yeah, they don't do anything to them at all.
Yeah.
Basically. What other? What is the course of the masterclass? I'm not sure. Is that all of it, or?
So, what is
okay, right there. Okay. The masterclass, we go into more detail. We actually have a workshop, a live workshop that you come to. We share like a Rolodex kind of thing of all our supplies and that type of thing. And it's significantly more intensive. Like, basically, there's a couple of different levels, and at the highest levels, we basically I personally handhold you through your first deal.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But,
so.
And even then, it sounds like people are going to have access to you on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So as long as you're willing to wait, a week at a time, just to kind
of. The thing is, you have more touch points. Essentially, there's more. You have more opportunity to get in contact with me.
Yeah. At the high.
And at the high level, it's literally a phone call.
Yeah. Perfect.
So we just make sure that I make sure that it's all absolutely, totally in your best interests.
So Andrew's asking, how many people work with your system?
We have, oh my goodness, I couldn't tell you exactly how many have gone through, although I probably should be able to. But there's hundreds of people out there that are doing this, hundreds of people, and in the broader community, there's tens of thousands of people that are investing in online businesses. I mean, you remember that number I said to you before? 143,000 domain names being transferred or sold every single day. So there's a lot of people doing it. What we're seeing, it's still a relatively immature market because it hasn't gone mass market, but what we're seeing is institutional investors are starting to come through, and it's now maybe 15 to 20% of the brokers that I work with, the brokers that I work with, 15 to 20% of their customers are now institutional investors.
Got it.
And so what's happening is we've got the smart money's already in, and they're doing everything. And now the institutional investors are coming in, and in about 3 to 4 years, the mass market kind of investors will come in.
Yeah.
And it'll go mainstream. And what will probably happen is we'll see a shrinkage in the returns, and it'll come back to kind of the same sorts of numbers where real estate and general business are, depending on the perceived risk of the business, of each individual business. So, it's a unique time for investing because this is a time where you have a great opportunity to actually get way ahead of the market and get way in front of everybody and build an asset base very quickly and cheaply that will probably grow into a significantly larger asset base and be more in line with other investments in the coming years. And I don't think it's going to take that long, 3 to 5 years from now, and we won't be seeing the 100% returns.
Yeah.
They won't be there because people will get over the technology barrier. I mean, no one knew about SEO, a few years ago. Now, most people have a bit of an idea of what it is.
Yeah.
No one owned a website, but almost everyone has a website of some sort now. Every business owner certainly does.
Even if it's just a Facebook page or something like that.
10 years ago, no businesses owned websites. It was only the most progressive, advanced, businesses that were taking themselves online. And so it's the same sort of thing.
So it definitely seems like a market to go play in, Eric, and we've got most of the people still on the call right now, which
thanks
is
for hanging in,
fantastic.
guys.
Thank you so much for hanging around. If you're still on the call and if you have any more questions, just pop that in there. Otherwise, come along and join Eric. Just a fabulous offer. Thank you, Eric, again.
I can show you.
Thank
I can
you
show
so
you
much
guys
for making this offer as well.
Yeah, no worries. It's my pleasure.
It's when I saw what Eric was up to, and I saw what he's been selling it for, which is well over almost double the price of what he's done over here. I was really
actually
excited to see how
my guinea pig members. When I first did this, we were charging it was $1,000. It was $997 plus $97 a month.
Yeah.
So
double the price really.
So it was more than double.
Yeah.
And I honestly experimented on them so much. I felt like Frankenstein.
Yeah. How long is this offer open for Eric? Because obviously,
this special offer, I think, would we say the 10th or something like that?
Yeah,
thereabouts.
Yeah. So what is the date today? So you got a it's open for basically a week or so to kind of get up and get on and have a little look around and get to know the market a bit more. But get straight into it. Get on. Have some conversations with Eric. Start seeing how simple this is to actually go out and do it. And again, thank you, Eric, for the really simple payment plan that you put in there, the $297 times 2, because that makes it really, really easy for anyone just to kind of get up and get going.
Yeah, no worries. It really is not nearly as difficult to do investing as you might think it is. It's it's actually, I found it significantly more tricky buying a house than buying website businesses. And buying real world businesses, so much harder. So much harder, because you're constantly dealing with all sorts of rules and regulations, with council laws, with licenses, with all sorts of stuff, And between you and me and the lamppost, all of the taxation stuff that you have to deal with constantly, it's very annoying. And with investing, virtually all of that goes out the window, because most of the time the website you're buying, well, you can have your website set up in any territory, and then it gets really simple. PayPal the money straight in, and then you've only got one declaration. You're not dealing with VAT and GST and all that sort of stuff. It's very, very simple.
I love the strategy, Eric. It's so simple. There's so many things as a promoter like myself where I represent a lot of, well, not a lot, but a number of really good guys and great products out there. And something for me, which was like such an obvious thing, I have to start putting some sites out there which have my brand in there, which is like affiliate site and stuff like that. And it just occurred to me that it's why would I go out and do that when I could actually go off and buy a site which is in that industry, own it, which is already making money, and then have people upsold into the products that I'm already talking about.
Yeah.
So
for businesses, it's really amazing, because, for instance, you can buy a website. Say you're a jeweler, you can buy a website that's already selling jewelry. And then you just plug your jewelry into that same system. So you've got an existing income. Then you can add to it with your products and increase the income even further.
Yeah.
And often we find that somebody will, they'll buy one site, and then it'll be making as much as their existing bricks and mortar business straight away. And their investment is, because the return, you can get returns at 50 to 100%. You're investing literally like a quarter or less in this new business than you did in your original business. and then you do that again, and you've got triple the business. And by the time you get to the level of investment that you had in your original business, you've actually grown your business 5 times.
Yeah.
So as a business growth strategy, it's amazing.
Well,
and we've got all sorts of inside. We go into all of that advanced stuff.
Well, the part that makes huge sense for me is that I'm actually in the process of building a number of sites right now, and this was before we connected. And had I kind of had this strategy beforehand, I just wouldn't have gone to it. Just building a new site, setting it up, putting all the content in, search engine marketing stuff. Even though I've got some fabulous search engine marketing tools and all those types of things, it's a big process. It really is, and it's taken me a month of playing with that, and I've got probably a bit more still to go just to get it tweaked up, and then all of the time it's going to take me to actually get it earning money and all that type of thing. So the amount of effort and energy that goes in just to create something from new and from scratch is huge.
The reality is you end up spending just as much building it, and you end up with a site that actually isn't making money yet.
Yeah.
As you do going out and buying a site that's already making money.
Without all the stress.
Without any of the stress. Without having to find photographers and do all the stuff that you have to do.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. If there's any more questions for Eric, let's get on to those. Did you say full recording will be available? Yes, I did, Andrew. And we'll do the beginning piece as well. Will be the ongoing costs from.
Okay, the ongoing cost, as you can see in here, there's a monthly $57 a month. If you want to use some of for instance, the Done For You services, they do come at a cost, but it's just part of your acquisition expenses, really. So if you want us to, for instance, do the due diligence on the website, we have a couple of different due diligence packages. So if you don't want to do it yourself and you just want us to check and make sure the site's fine, then they range from a couple of $100 up to, well, if you're buying $1 million site, then the due diligence process has to be very extensive and it's going to cost money.
Yeah.
But still not outrageous. It might be 10 or 12 grand for a site of that size. So yes and no. If you just get in there and do it yourself, the only ongoing cost is just your membership costs.
And access to you.
And that gives you access to me, and then, of course, there's just the normal running of your business costs.
Yeah,
we're buying businesses, guys. So of course there are costs involved. But to give you an idea, it's not uncommon for a website to have an 80% yield, right? So go into Flipper and have a look around, and you'll see that there'll be a website that has a revenue of 2,000 and a net profit of 1,500. Now, it's not a mistake. That's real. Right? There are websites out there that make $10,000 a month, and their total cost is $120 for hosting because they're what we call AdSense sites.
Yeah.
And so their revenue to profit ratio is like 98%. Because the running costs are next to nothing. So yes, there are definitely some running costs in any business. But online, and the reason they're so much better online is because a lot of the systems are automated.
Yeah.
So many of the systems are automated.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Can you tell us how some of the things that you do to increase the value of the website?
So there's a few different things that you can do. If it's been neglected a bit, you can de-neglect it. That you may, for instance, you may update the look and feel of it. Take it from an older looking site to a newer looking site. Sometimes that can only be it doesn't cost you more than $100.
Yeah.
Because it's just changing the theme in a website and somebody sitting in front of the computer and just reorganizing the information. Increasing value is basically just generating more revenue. At the end of the day, I actually, when I first started out, I kind of I did spend a lot of time fixing up websites, and I learned a lesson, and that was that there was no direct correlation between the amount of time that I spent fixing a website up to the revenue that I got out of that.
Yeah.
And so I've become much more, I'll call it complacent. I'm more complacent in that if I can find a website that needs hardly anything done to it, and it can earn me 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% return, then why fix something if it's not broken?
Yeah.
You know, there's no point. And that's the beauty of the strategy. I don't know. Look, I mean, everyone's got their different levels and things, but say, for instance, you want to earn $50,000 a month, right? $50,000 a year, right? Now, if you find a website that's earning 100% per annum, right? You only need to find $50,000 in order to generate that $50,000 a year in income.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of diving into part of the program here, but what can you borrow money at?
Yeah.
What sort of percentage can you borrow money? 5.5%. Okay, so if you were to, let's work with a round number, $100,000. It's going to cost you $5,500 a year plus a few fees and things like that. And that $100,000 you can find a business that's going to make you between $50,000 and $100,000, and it's going to cost you $5,000 to service that financially. How quickly do you think you can get to your income goals?
Certainly.
Right?
Yeah.
And how much risk are you really taking to get to those income goals? If you wanted to do the same thing with real estate, if you want to earn $50,000 a year off real estate, and the average return on a normal real estate investment in Australia is maybe 3%, right? How much more do you need in order to get to your income goal? We're all thinking, right? We've all been thinking, I need $1 million to make $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
But the reality is you don't.
Yeah.
Because there are websites out there right now that you can make that $50,000 of $50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can get it pretty easily.
And as exciting as that is, what I love about it is that you can start small. You can go buy yourself a few $100 website, play with that, get your confidence up, kick the ball in the goal a few times.
Yeah.
As we like to say, move the goalposts further away and buy yourself a $1,000 one, and then move it further away and kick the ball in again. And
well, it's not even like that. It's not like you're actually moving the goalpost further away, because it's not that much harder to buy. In fact, it's the opposite. It's actually harder to buy a $200 site than it is that's profitable than it is to buy a $10,000 site that's profitable, because there's just the revenues are smaller than usually the number of sales required to hit the sales month target each month is significantly lower. So if you miss out on one sale, then it can knock out your income for a month, for half of it or a quarter of it or a tenth of it or something like that. Whereas the bigger sites, they generally have hundreds of transactions each month. So, a little dip doesn't make that much of a difference.
Got it.
So, actually the smaller sites are really good to cut your teeth on because they're actually trickier. They're there, they're all there making money, like Tommy's a great example, and there's lots and lots of others. He's just one of my better examples. But Lucinda, for instance, she bought 6 sites. I think her total investment was $3,000 for 6 sites. So she averaged about $500 each. And within 3 months, she'd made all that back.
Wow. That gives me like instantly just gives me confidence that I could go do that, because like in any investment that you get into, it's like what money am I willing to lose to go into do this? And usually when you go into real estate,
it's a lot.
You got to lose a lot.
And people do lose a lot on real estate, a lot of money, No, I mean, one of the very, we go through the whole learning process and the Q&As and everything. And the first thing I say to people is, think of a number that you're happy to lose. It doesn't matter. I won't say happy to lose, but it doesn't matter if you lose it. Use that as your first investment. And if it's $50, great. If it's some people, it's like Keith was 15,000. That's where he started.
I'm exactly. I like it. It makes it certainly gives me confidence that everyone can play at the level that they feel comfortable
Yeah, that's
with
the whole idea.
instantly. Have you ever had a really bad deal, Eric? Let's open this up because
Okay, so
and have you lost a bunch of money in this?
I've had deals where I've only made like 10%. That was in the early days, and I got scammed a couple of times in the early days, and that was really where my system came from, was being scammed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got sites that were making a fraction of what they said they were doing, and I learned the hard way because I didn't get I didn't do the proper due diligence. I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so what the Indivest does and what the course does is it teaches you how to avoid all of those mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
And that other people are making.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people out there. Don't get me wrong, there are lots and lots of people out there that are not doing well doing this.
Yeah.
And that's because they don't know what they're doing.
And it's exactly what you said. They just don't have a system to follow.
Yeah.
People just get caught up in their stuff, and
there's lots of people doing really badly in pretty much every facet of life.
Exactly.
Like there's guys out there that are good-looking guys that cannot find a girlfriend to save themselves, and there's the same thing with girls, and there's everyone has the capacity to do bad at everything.
Yeah.
Just as much as they have the capacity to do really well at everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, your success in life is actually identifying a system, being able to kind of have a system.
Yeah.
And once you have a system that works, then you just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
8 steps. And the last one is rinse and repeat.
And a mentor and, some emotional intelligence around this would help as well.
Yeah.
And these are all the things that you cover anyway.
Emotional intelligence around it's really important. Because people get really caught up and they get so passionate about the particular thing that is their area of interest in it. And I've had guys in my mastery program come back and go, found this amazing site, you got to look at it, check it out, I'll send you all the details. They send me the details and it's like the site's 2 months old. And I'm like, and it's making amazing money. How did it do that? And it's like, dude, seriously? Like, is there's something here I can see and I saw it in 5 seconds. What's wrong with this website? And then I get this sort of sheepish reply, oh yeah, it's 3 months old.
Yeah. Okay. If there aren't any questions, I think I'm going to wrap it up there.
Okay.
Is there legal recourse for? Oh, okay. Luke's got a quick question. Is there legal recourse for buying these scam sites?
Legal recourse.
What does Flipper have?
Well, your best look. Okay. This is like a live Q&A right now. The best legal recourse is avoiding the scam in the first place.
Yeah, I'm just putting it back onto that one. Somebody asked me just to put onto the what they get.
Oh, hang on. No, we've got to go one more, I believe, to, oops. That's there, and this is what,
Okay, cool.
The best legal recourse is to not get scammed in the first place. So avoidance is the best possible way to deal with it. Because like anything, I mean, it's like any business at all. Yes, there's legal recourse. You can sue people for anything really, but is it worth it? And like to sue anybody for anything in Australia, if it's less than 10 grand, it's probably not worth it because it's going to cost you more in legal fees. So, if you follow the checklist that we have, if you follow the guidelines that I've created, you will not end up being scammed.
Yeah.
Because it's virtually impossible to have that happen. If they're not ticking all the boxes, then you don't do the deal.
Got it.
Right? And there are so many deals out there that you don't need. It's not like there's only one deal every 3 months and, oh my God, I should just do this. There's so many deals out there that even if it goes dry for a week or two, so what? Go and do something else. Go surfing. Play a game of golf, Take your wife out for dinner. And then have another look the next day. And so my routine every morning, I get up and I do my usual morning things, cut some fruit with my girl and feed the kids and do all that sort of stuff, then I sit down and I have a look at the market. And it's no different to a day trader, I guess, in a way. And I have a look through and see, and if there's anything that looks good, then I will earmark it, and I'll usually find 2 or 3 things. Some days I find nothing, other days I find 10, you know. Some days I don't look at all. But yeah, if you're relatively consistent and you spend maybe half an hour to an hour each day, you will.
Oh,
that's the end of the call.
well, it might be. Looks like we're still on. Oh, we just lost power. Things that happen in Bali, but it looks like, oh no, it looks like we've gone. We just lost sound. We didn't do sound. We actually lost all of our power. So that's what happens in Bali. But somehow we're going back on again. Thank you. I think we're going to probably end that here and thank everybody and say good evening. And yeah, jump onto that link. And obviously, if there's anything that you want to know, just give us an email after this, and we'll have our guys get a hold of you and have a little conversation and see how this can work for you as well. So again, thanks so much, Eric, for your time. You've been extraordinary. You've been here for 2 hours with us and just really opening up and giving us so much confidence in what's available here. So, and thank you all for being on the call for as long as you were here. So that was incredible, just to see everybody still on here. So looking forward to connecting with you guys again real soon. Have a fantastic evening, no matter where you are in the world, or might be morning, and we'll see you soon. Good evening.
See you guys.